Hi, welcome to the small shed. Today we're back out in the garage having a look and see if we can get some more work done on Kay. I'll see you in a minute. Now, as far as the cycle cart's concerned, we've established that I want to make one. We've established a prototype. We've established somewhere to build it, and I think I've got a rough idea in my head at the moment on how to build it in terms of what materials I'm going to use. We'll come on to that in a future video. I've got some drawings done which are full size, so that gives me a good start as well, and that all seems to work dimensionally to give it an accurate representation. So the next step really is to see whether that will convert to something that I can get in and out of, because you can't just necessarily scale something down and expect to fit in it unless you're also 80% smaller than the people that were driving it in the first place. And in the case of Kay Peter, I'm probably a damn sight bigger than she was, and some of the other drivers. So I'm going to make a mock-up. It's going to be rough, ready, crude, just to give me a rough idea of whether or not I can get in and out, or whether I've got to start and just ease dimensions slightly to fiddle with width to make it wide enough for my big fat behind and stomach to get in and out of, and whether or not the scuttle height is going to work in terms of getting in and out, because it's getting your knees out that'll be the problem as well. So we'll go and make a mock-up. First of all, I need some drawings. We'll start with that. I'm just going to scale up some of the plans that I've already done full size. I'm just going to cut out the bits that I need to make myself some templates. So having finished the assembly and run out of sellotape, or one roll of sellotape, I'm on to the second roll now. I've done the whole of the elevation of the car onto large sheets, but it's not much use like that other than for me getting a feel of how things are overall and using it as a reference to measure from and things like that. But what I'm going to need now are specific templates, and I'm starting off with this idea of will I fit in it. So what I've done is I've actually just printed the outside of the cockpit line there down to the ground. So I've got a small section there of the cockpit. I'll cut that out, literally cut to the outside line of the car, and I've done the same for the cockpit area through to about there on the nose, so that I can sit on that, lay it out and see how that works. So we've got about another 40 or 50 piece jigsaw to do. Same thing again, rinse and repeat, and away we go. Right, so that's got me the floor pan part to see whether my big fat behind will fit in that or not, and whether or not it needs to be widened there, and how the legs will work in the floor pan. So I can cut that onto a piece of plywood. Got the front elevation, that gives me the height from the frame rails up to top of the scuttle, so I can probably just do something that will mock up roughly where the steering wheel will be, and I can adapt that for the backrest by just adding that piece on top. That takes it slightly higher to have the rear headrest. And then I've got the piece which goes, that's the side elevation, just to cut out around the driver's compartment. The scuttle's up there, that's the back of the seat, and that's the side, that's where you sit. It's fortunate in that this particular car has very low side between effectively the floor and the sides. On both sides it's down there. On this side there is a little fairing there that sticks out the side, so it gives a little bit of extra width there. And on the other side there is a panel that goes roughly along that line and along there that will actually fold down, so that may aid getting in and out of the thing as well, if I can actually fit in it. There's a little bit of extra width in that side, and as I say, I've got the other side that will flap open if I want to. So I'm going to make a start on the base. I've got some of the plywood that I'd got the other day. First thing I've learnt from doing the guitar builds is to get a centre line established, and I think this is no different. It makes it much easier to get stuff organised. So I'm going to put a centre line down the middle. I'm not going to cut it to size because I might want to make it slightly bigger, slightly wider. So I'll just draw out to start with where the limits are, and then once I've done that we can put the sides on and see how it is, and if it needs a little bit of easing out we can do that without having to recut. This board that I've got, I'm not going for the full length of the car or anything like that. It's 1 metre and 1.2 metres, so it's 4 foot long. That'll be plenty, because that's all this is to do, is to establish how I get on with my feet and my bum. And fortunately, yeah, we're about right. It won't matter the fact that I can't quite get all the front in, because that's probably where all the pedal box and everything will be going. And because of what I'm doing and where I'm marking it out, I'm already slightly wider there. I'm probably pinched another 15 or 20 mil overall, but we'll see. That gives me that floor pan. Put the backrest in, mark the position of that scuttle line there. Well, that's the bonnet actually, that point, there's the scuttle top. So that is where the scuttle will be working to. So that's the scuttle. Back of the seat, probably established, is pretty much the end there. So that's the seat, and that line there is the bonnet. There's quite a steep drop down from that point where the scuttle is down to where the bonnet is, so I need to know and put a profile up there probably as well, because that will also affect how my legs are going to go in and out of this. So that's the base organised. Let's move on to the sides. So the left hand side, I'll set the seat back as being pretty much the end of the board, and once again we'll get a felt tip or whatever, mark out the perimeter of the car raising up to the scuttle, and again it won't be as easy as that because these pieces curve over, so this is the highest point. I won't actually have quite this much room, I don't believe. but if we can just get a rough idea that it's either potentially possible or absolutely no chance, that gives us the option then to decide quite where we're going with the rest of the design. I haven't got the right angle, but I'm going to just put a rough line down there, which is where the bonnet line will go. Again, it doesn't mean a lot because that's the top of the bonnet and the actual sides of the bonnet, where this is, will curve over from there and probably start about there. So that is the side. I've just got to jigsaw that shape out. Well, unfortunately you can start to see the problems I have with a relatively small shed, and it's probably not much better in the garage at the moment with needing space for this sort of thing, but we'll get by. So I think the first thing I need to establish is the height of the headrest. I'm not quite sure whether my template accurately represents that. So if I just mark top of the headrest height, that will give me 735mm. So we'll just pop that in 1/2. I think I might get this out of, should get this out of one sheet, both the scuttle and the main backrest. These sheets of ply might seem extravagant to be ripping up sheets of 7mm ply. I go to a group which is Men in Sheds in Bromsgrove, just up the road, and we had a company ring us up the other day who were up in Birmingham, transmission people, who wanted to know if we wanted some plywood because they were just skipping it. And I went up with the car and filled it up, and they had saved us the lids, to be fair, which are better quality than the sides and the bases of the crates, but I brought back 60 sheets of this, and they were skipping roughly 3 times this every week, going to landfill, which is a little bit of a waste. So I don't feel too bad about using it for this. It'll come in on other things as well. So certainly any ply that I get to use within the build, I don't think I'm going to be spending any money on it. So again, for the back, that's given me a centre line, same thing, and a height. So that I think is about right for the body. And then we'll put the scuttle, put that on. The beauty of it is that the sides are pretty much vertical, so there's no fancy worries about curves and things to the sides. What I'll do with that one is draw out the outside edge and then cut out almost as much as I dare from the middle for my legs to go in. Because whatever I do, there's going to have to be a structure to this that will need bracing and support. So I know I haven't got that full width for my legs, but again, this is the point of having the test. So we'll see. So that's the scuttle. And obviously I have to get some sort of a dashboard in here, which I'm just going to take a bit of a guess as being somewhere around there. I'll need a little bit of strength in this, which I can beef up with a bit of timber, but what I'll do is I'll do that and that and cut up the inside as well. So we'll cut all that out, cut that out, put the backrest out. There's a block to support the back and 2 blocks to support the sides. What I'll do now is stick that block on the back. There. Just to support the vertical. A bit rough at the moment, but it's proof of concept rather than joinery. Take the edges off this just to make it a bit more pleasant. Right, time to see if we can get in and out. Bearing in mind, as I say, this is the high point that should be in the middle, these will be lower on the finished tub. okay. Yeah, I think that's okay. I can live with that. The feet would be narrower. I can certainly live with that. It's comfortable enough. If that flap comes undone, and that cutout is there as well, that'll make it so much easier. It's working okay. Just going to cut out the hoop for the other bit now to see if I can get in and out with my knees through the steering column bit. There's the problem. That is likely to be the problem. There. Okay, try with a bit of a cushion, I think, just to see how we are for height. Try again. So we can get in, we can get out or not is a different matter. Okay, there we go. Just about. Probably a bit more clearance on there. It's not doable. And the beauty of that is now I can just pack that away. Takes up very little space and come back to it, revisit it as and when we develop things further and check out dimensions as I start to make it properly. That's a good start, I think, today. Right, so that's another milestone out of the way, I think, on that. It means that the whole thing is now looking possible. There will doubtless be some tweaks to be made, and once I start and get a proper chassis and hoops for where the scuttle and backrest and thing are, there might be a little bit of tweaking to do. We'll see when we get there, but principally it looks like it's going to work. So hopefully that's a good day's work, good morning's work anyway done. We've got a little test rig that we can always put back up again if we want to recheck anything. Hope it was of interest. I'll be back in a week or two's time, I'm sure, doing a bit more work on the cycle cart. Look forward to seeing you then. Bye.